Alright, I'm just going to do a quick little video playing with Augusta's description of introverted logic, or I should say just a small section of it. I want to make other videos on it, but just playing with some of the introductory ideas here. Objective relations between two objects and their individual properties, the ratio between them, or how one object would measure if the other object was used as a measure. Through this element, the individual receives information about the objective ratio between the objects, about their weight, size, value, and any other properties that are commensurate. So, close your eyes for a moment and just abstract what was just said. Don't take it super literally, right? It can apply to in a very literal sense, but I think it can also apply to ideas as well. It's applicable to both the abstract plane and the physical plane. So playing with this idea, this notion of ratios, proportionalities, comparison, that sort of thing, it kind of reminds me of Karl Marx, actually. Which, funny enough, Augusta actually believed Karl Marx had introverted logic in the creative position. She actually typed Karl Marx ILE. Now I'm aware that modern socionists are more of the mind that Karl Marx was a beta NF type. I believe they lean towards him being an IEI. But I think regardless of what you type him, I think most socionists would agree that clearly there is the use of introverted logic present in his writings. So if you look at how he approached the relationship between the working class and the ruling class, when he's examining the way in which person A over in the working class is getting a much smaller ratio proportion of the economic pie, whereas person B in the ruling class is receiving a much larger slice of the economic pie, and the questions arising around, is this reasonable? Does this make sense? Justifiable? All those kinds of things. And obviously, I want to say that clearly people can use their introverted logic and go in different directions when it comes to something like economics, politics, etc. Not saying that everyone who's got introverted logic in the mix is going to be a Marxist or something, or have similar ideas, but I think the point stands that this idea about evaluating, discerning the objective ratio between objects, and you hear words here like weight, size, value. Abstract those for a moment. Obviously, they can apply in a very physical sense, but they can also apply in a more abstract sense, like Karl Marx was evaluating if the working class person's value was being adequately represented by the ratio proportion of the economic pie they were receiving relative to the size of the pie slice that the person in the ruling class was receiving. And you can probably imagine other elements coming into the frame here, where if the introverted logic is the one evaluating the relative ratios and proportionalities of things, comparing these different objects to each other, in this case the objects are people, then you could probably imagine the ethics of emotion extrovert ethics entering the frame and being the sort of righteous indignation in response to this disproportionality, this incorrect ratio between these two objects relative to each other. You can sort of see that in the justice system as well, where when people feel that the punishment that is being ascribed to a given crime is not proportional to the crime that was committed, then the ethics of emotion comes into the frame, and it is the righteous indignation in response to that. All right, let's scroll down a little bit. We have this other idea, right? Space, distance in space. Distance between objects, position in space, or among other objects, hierarchy. So you can imagine how hierarchy applies to what I just covered with Karl Marx and his examination of the relationship between the working class and the ruling class. This idea of position in space, it reminds me of a quote by Winston Churchill, which, funny enough, Augusta believed Winston Churchill had introverted logic in the creative position as well. She actually typed Winston Churchill and Karl Marx both as ILE. But regardless of what you type those gentlemen as, probably you can imagine how both had introverted logic in the mix. That quote from Winston Churchill: "You can't reason with a tiger when your head is already in its mouth." So you can see how that is a good example of this discernment of an object's position in space relative to other objects, the position between two objects. Once your head is already in the tiger's mouth, you're no longer in a position to negotiate. You no longer are in a position of leverage. And you can imagine how those positions in space, those positions of leverage, you can apply them in a really literal, physical sense, laws of the jungle type of thing. You can also apply it in a more abstract sense. But anyways, I'll be doing more videos on some of Augusta's descriptions of the information metabolism elements. I'll do more videos on what she says about introverted logic as well, because I just covered a small section because I thought it was interesting. This isn't me saying like, oh, these are the best definitions in the world. I just I'm curious about them, so here I am exploring them. Thank you for watching. All right, and one more note on the extroverted ethics connection and the righteous indignation. You can also see how that connects to the whole getting people hyped up and mobilized for the revolution, basically, right? As it pertains to the Marxist ideas and many other ideas you can imagine. And also, I want to say, like, obviously, a lot of what I cover today will be interpreted as specifically, the blocking between introverted logic and extroverted sensation, especially by modern socionics. I'm not saying that's an issue. I just thought I would throw that in there, that I am aware that in these descriptions that Augusta provides, obviously, oftentimes you can see how she could be talking about a blocking between more than one element. So Just wanted to make it clear that I am aware of that. As naturally someone first starting to play with these ideas like Augusta was, naturally, she's probably not going to perfectly isolate elements. There's going to be some interference with some of it, and she's not necessarily stopping to be like, well, this is more, this sort of blocking with introverted logic, and this over here is more so this other kind of blocking with introverted logic. But I think with a lot of it, you can sort of abstract it and see how it applies to more than one blocking with introverted logic. Um, Obviously, with my example of like the head in the tiger's mouth, Winston Churchill, that would appear to a lot of people to be more so the blocking between introverted logic and extroverted sensation. But regardless, I digress. I just wanted to cover that before people start freaking out about it. Thanks.